Okay, we're at garden number 9 now. It is Kenny and Angie Reed on Sullivan Lane, and this is an actual working farm.
That's right. These guys have several acres here and elsewhere where they grow produce for the farmers market in Bardstown, and they have several other products, but I'll let them tell you about it in a couple minutes. But they also have taken the time to do the landscaping. I mean, they have a very large beds across the front, and of all the homes we're seeing today, their landscape is just such a picturesque, perfect scene from the road that, you know, you got to show that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because they have the tall trees as well as some of the flowers down below, so they kind of have it all going on.
I think so. Yeah, I agree with you. I don't know how they're so productive. I can tell you that, because they have a lot of things going on, but they still manage to have made just a picturesque, perfect pastoral setting here, right off Sullivan Lane. All right, now we're at the backyard of the home of the Reeds. It's number 9 on the Bardstown Garden Tour 2015, and I'm standing next to Jessie Reed, the daughter of Angie Reed, who's the gardener, and along with your dad, right? You guys also have a farmers market booth in Bardstown. Tell us a little bit about what you have at the market.
Well, right now we have collards, kale, mostly cold crops, and other people have eggs. We do have eggs, but we don't have enough to bring up there. And then we got jelly, salsa, stuff like that.
Okay, so you're doing stuff, but you're doing stuff the entire farmers market season, right?
Yeah.
So what are some of your other products you put out?
Tomatoes, corn, potatoes, all that stuff that, all the good stuff.
You guys grow enough to can and put it away yourself?
Yeah. We do it for ourselves, and we do it for, everybody else. So.
Gotcha. What's the favorite thing you grow?
My favorite? Oh gosh, that's hard. I don't know. I like it all.
Oh, well, that's good. That's
all.
excellent. Yeah.
Probably tomatoes, though. I love tomatoes, so.
Well, now I saw you had a table with like some sedum and some other like garden plants. So you sell those at the market as well?
Yep. Mom does mostly the plants, though.
And how big is the farm here?
Here we have 6 acres, but we do another farm in Bullitt County, about 8 acres of garden there too. So,
okay. So
it's kind of scattered out.
I guess your 8 acres really the source for most of your vegetables for the market.
Yes.
Okay. And does it take the whole 8 acres to do the farmers market?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, and because you're doing that many different crops.
Oh yeah. Well, mostly the 8 acres is a lot of corn, so that takes up a lot of land. So.
Okay. Yep. Very good. All right.
Yeah.
I heard you got some calves this year too.
Oh yeah, that's fun.
Well, how's that work?
Well, we've been bottle feeding from a dairy, so we got them from there, and then we're gonna sell them in the fall.
Okay.
But yeah, they're a lot of work.
So not at the farmers market.
No, no.
All right, we're gonna go around and take a look at the few of the gardens here.
All right.
Appreciate your time.
All right, thanks.
All right, we're looking at one of the garden beds that they have, the Reed's family has for the farmers market, and this is one of their later beds. They're going to use this for late tomatoes that supply the garden. Notice here they're using the straw mulch. They've got several horses and that, so they've got a lot of straw around, and they've just sort of expanded its use into the garden. Straw is an excellent cover for the ground, just like any other mulch. Does sometimes have a few extra weeds in it, but the nice thing about it is you can go through, kind of rake the straw around, and it keeps those weeds to a minimum. These guys work several different plots. Dad has a full-time job, kids go to school, but they still manage it all. And one of the ways you can manage a lot of different turf is to cut down on the work you have to do to each individual plant. And one of the ways you do that is to put down some sort of easy to spread mulch like straw. So this is a real good example of that. Okay, here we're looking at the Reed's herb garden. Herbs are about the easiest thing to grow. They throw the seeds in the ground and they generally take off. And if there's one thing you want to do to enhance your cooking and to add freshness to your cooking at home, and you've been a little bit hesitant to do a vegetable garden, then just start with herbs, because herbs can spice up your chicken or help you make your own spaghetti sauce or all the other things you can do right away, and they don't take up very much space. A little funny note in here inside their bed is that the metal objects you see have all been found objects as they dug through the property. So when they're putting in their gardens and that, they found a watering can and they found the well spigot, and they've reused those just to decorate and sort of add to the feel of the old-timiness of outside the barn here. But yeah, big thing you can do for yourself, easy thing you can do for yourself, and the quickest way to kind of change your home garden is to add a little bit of herbs to it, and then add them to your dinner some night.
All right, so we made it to our last private garden.
Yeah, this is our last one, only one stop after this one.
Absolutely. And it's the home of Mike and Judy Mitro on Lutheran Church Road. And we're expecting to see a fabulous garden because Judy's one of the master gardeners.
She is one of the master gardeners, and they've worked on this property for a long time. They lived here, I want to say 27, 28 years, and they've been working on the garden the last 20 years and really extensively in the last 10 years. So they put a lot of effort, a lot of work into it. They know what they're doing. This is some really challenging, steep soil, but they've done a lot of terracing. They've done a lot of tricks of the trade sort of thing to grow stuff, and they've got some really gorgeous shade beds, probably some of the best shade beds we've ever had on the tour. So let's go take a look.
Absolutely. All right, so we're at the first of our beds that we're going to take a look at. Now, I think here some of the different challenges, I would assume, are there's lots of shade, but also it's a very steep hill.
It is a steep hill, so what they've had to do is just channel out dirt and put up rocks to create enough walls to put in enough soil to be able to garden this area. We're on the edge of a knob, and the dirt itself is very poor. It's poor enough, I used to be a neighbor of Judy's, it's poor enough that we had the roof replaced, and when we took the magnet around to pick up the nails, it actually started picking up pebbles off the ground because of the high iron content. When you're that metallic a soil, and it just doesn't grow things very well. But what Judy's focused on is, and she has a variety of plants, but what she's focused on is a lot of native species that are adjusted to this type of soil and are adjusted to shady conditions. So it makes it a lot easier to be successful. Even the plants she's using, though, that aren't native are going to be plants that are sort of native to this kind of environment where it's still fairly dry, fairly hilly, fairly shady. Actually, it's very shady. And she's done a great job with it because you can see there's texture, there's color, there's depth, there's all different kinds of plants. And she's about tapped the variety of all the shade things that are available. And she's even tried to adapt a few sunnier plants to see how well they would do, and some of them have done fairly well, even though they're listed as that plant that should only be in the shade or in the sun.
Now, also, it seems like with this garden, there's like levels. So is it that kind of in case the water doesn't come all the way down or wash, or is that just for to look nice?
Well, I think that there could be some of that. I think it's also a matter of as they grew the beds. So each year they added a section on. So that was the border from last year. Now there's a new border. I think it's what we talked about earlier a little bit. It's kind of up to the individual, but I think it's there's not always as much planning as you might think. Some of it is just a matter of, this is where we stopped last year. We're going to go down a little further. But you're also going to match the contours of the ground when you're dealing with a hilly environment. So sometimes there's just a drop off, and you're going to need to put some sort of wall there. I think we could say that the stones that she has in her garden are for all those purposes. It's matching the contour. It's where they stopped last year. It's where they just thought it looked the best.
Now, as we said, Judy is a master gardener herself, so she has the knowledge to kind of lay this out. But if you're out there thinking about planting a garden and something's not growing, and you wouldn't realize that might be because of the soil content, is there a way that the average person can find that out? Should they contact the master gardener?
Well, if it's an issue of soil content, Nelson County provides free soil testing. Other counties may only charge $1 or $2, but you can go by your local county extension office. They'll give you a box. You take that box home, and their instructions are on the box. But basically, you take about 3 or 4 samples of soil out of your yard. You give that back to the extension office. They send it to University of Kentucky, where they'll do a full analysis on it. You get it back in a couple weeks, and the analysis is exhaustive. It's several pages long and describes all the pluses and minuses of your soil, and then it makes recommendations. And they're very specific recommendations, is how many pounds of a certain fertilizer per 100 square feet, so that you can improve your soil the right way and get everything to grow a lot better. Now, what it won't tell you is, for example, what grows in the sun and what grows in the shade. But luckily now, at most garden centers, and even on the tags themselves for most plants, it'll tell you whether the plant belongs in the sun and the shade, or the shade, and that's fairly important to pay attention to. So go by the tag, pay attention to the results of your soil test, and you're going to have a lot of success just off those things.
Great. So let's take a look at some more of what they have to offer here.
Excellent.
All right, now we're at midway up the hill for the garden. Now, you said this is a knob. So one of the things that they have to really be concerned about are the wildlife elements.
That's right. They back up to what used to be called Knob State Forest and kind of an extension of Bernheim. and lots of acres of woods. Deer, I used to be a neighbor of Judy, and the deer traverse the property almost daily, plus all the other friendly animals and varmints that belong to the woods. So they actually have to keep cages over many of their plants that they have to replace in the evening so that the plants are allowed to live without being chewed to the ground. And of course they find these things out the hard way because they plant the new plant out there, they see if it gets eaten, and that tells them whether or not they need a cage for it. But it's just another challenge between the slope and the shade and the dryness, and it's also the animals that give them a challenge.
You were talking about the terrace down here too. You have a terrace garden?
Right. The terrace itself is in their vegetable garden. They've terraced out the side of the hill and then added in railroad ties to square off an area, and then had dirt brought in to fill those up. And they've got a pretty decent vegetable garden down there when it gets to the sunny part, and they're able to get their fresh produce that way. But it would have never worked with the slope that they originally had. It's very, very hard to grow vegetables on a slope.
And one thing we were seeing down in one of the gardens too was kind of the whimsical elements that they add to it. They have a bed frame down there. They have the stained glass window kind of up here. So a lot of different things to add, not just plants, but kind of fun to it.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things, and it's like a lot of gardeners like to do. You like to break things up. It doesn't all have to be just about plants. Sometimes a rusty metal object could just add that kind of fun and show that you're in touch. And sometimes it's just a little ornamentation is the thing that brings it over the top. I mean, they got a sign on one side of the garden that says, "We're so glad you're here." And as you're walking through and you see the little fun stuff and signs like that, it just welcomes you. And that's what they want their yard to do for you.
Well, here we are at our final garden, and this is the second public garden. There have been 2 public gardens and 8 private gardens on this year's tour. And we're at the Sisters of Charity of Nazareth at the Mary's Garden.
That's right. Sisters of Mary of Nazareth was established in 1822, and Mary's Garden was built first in 1902. I do not know the acreage, but they have over 100 acres for sure here, and it's a very nice place to come if you want to take a walk in solitude and peace and quiet. And there are several gardens around, and there are lots and lots of landscape specimens, large shrubs in that, because they have a place here they can establish things and let them grow untouched for 50 years or 100 years, and they have been. And so there's a lot of gorgeous things to see, and like I said, very quiet, very peaceful place. Hope everybody can stop by when they're in Bardstown at some point and just visit and check it out.
Now today, actually, Robbie with the Nelson County Extension Office is giving tours of several of the various gardens, right?
He did, that's right, because just a person walking onto such a large place wouldn't know where to go and what to see. Our extension agent is on site today to give the tours, to kind of point some specific things out. That's right.
Well, again, this has been the Blooming Bardstown Garden Tour for 2015. Been here with Bill Fell, it's been Gary White, and be sure to join the tour next year. It's always going to be in June, right?
Our first couple weekends in June, we post it as many places as we can. So look for us on Facebook, look for us on the web. We're under Blooming Bardstown, and you'll find us. Thanks a lot, Gary, for coming out again. It's great. We like to see you here, and we're glad to get the word out about the Master Gardener program. If you're interested in Master Gardener, you can contact the Extension Office, 502-348-9204. Otherwise, we hope to see you in person next year on the tour.
Right, for the 13th annual Blooming Bardstown Garden Tour. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Gary.
All right.